October 2nd. We're doing the 31 days of Proverbs in October challenge. Have you read your word today? Let's get into it. It's October 2nd, and I did not do a review of Proverbs 1, so I decided let's just put them together. Proverbs 1 and Proverbs 2. Let's get it. I'm not going to read it word for word, but what I will tell you is a lot of people were asking questions about the Bible app that I used. Here it is. This is a screenshot of the Bible app that I use on Apple, but then I also use my women's study Bible. Can you see her? She cute. I know. I also use her because she gives me a deeper understanding of what the word says. So I'm going to point out some key points that I noticed in verse 1 and verse 2 that are sticking with me that I'm going to use the here method on applying. I want to know what the here method is, baby. It is a game changer. What I want you to do is go back to the first video on this playlist and check it out because she eats every time. Studying, I learned that Proverbs in the Hebrew sense literally means comparison. And you're going to notice that a lot throughout the book of Proverbs because you're going to be looking at comparing wisdom to foolish behaviors. And the book of Proverbs was written by King Solomon, and they say that it was written like early on in his reign as king because later on down the line, we'll get into that another day. The book of Proverbs is about godly wisdom. It's about obtaining wisdom from God's perspective. The word wisdom, when you see it throughout the book of Proverbs, in that time, it meant skillful living. And to us, that makes a lot of sense because skillful living can be the same thing that we call making good choices. Making good choices. But Proverbs is talking about making choices from God's perspective, not necessarily the world's. For me, I'm going to tell you which verses I use the here method on and highlighted that kind of stuck with me in my reading. And when we look at Proverbs chapter 1, verse 5, a wise man will hear and increase learning, and a wise man of understanding will obtain wise counsel. This for me is just a reminder that if you want to be wise and create godly wisdom, you have to seek an understanding. You have to seek learning. You have to seek wise counsel. God has placed amazing people in our lives. There's so many different resources in this generation to obtain wise counsel. Your pastors, your therapists, sometimes your friends, and also counsel in the book of God. So seeking wise counsel is a great way to make sure you're elevating your life in a godly way. Chapter 1, verse 7. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction. And the reason why this stood out to me is because anytime I hear the word fear in my carnal mind, I automatically think being afraid of. I automatically think that. But in the book of Proverbs and throughout the Bible, fearing the Lord doesn't necessarily mean being afraid of him. That's not the same because our Father is a good and sovereign God. And as you learn his heart by reading his word, you understand that fearing God, baby, is not being afraid of him. Fearing God is a posture of allowing yourself to see him in awe. He is amazing. He's an outstanding God. He covers us. He protects us. He provides for us. He gives us his knowledge so that we can move forth in this world and be exactly what he's called us to be. Fearing God in the sense of the Bible is not being afraid of him. So the reason why that verse stood out to me, because as I first started reading my word and getting closer to God, I was afraid that fearing God meant I needed to be scared of him. But the more you get into your word and the deeper your relationship goes with God, the more you understand that fearing him is a heart posture. It's not being scared of him because he's amazing. And we know that because we know his word, so we know his heart. Now, I'm going to head on over to chapter 2 since today is October 2nd. Let me tell you the verse that stood out to me in chapter 2, and it was right at the beginning, baby. Hit me like a ton of bricks. Chapter 2, my son, if you receive my words and my treasure, my commands within you, so that you may incline your ear to wisdom and apply your heart to understanding. Yes, if you cry out for discernment and lift your voice for understanding, if you seek her as silver, period, and you search for her as hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find knowledge in God. For God gives wisdom, and his mouth come knowledge and understanding. They ate that up. Chapter 2, verse 1 through 6, ate it up. Far, my favorite part of that is seeking her like silver. Baby, you ever found $50 on the ground? Huh? You know how quick you ran to get that 50? Let me get her. That's how we should be with wisdom, just as excited, seeking it like treasure because it is treasure. Operating in this world without wisdom is diabolical, baby. What are you doing? Move forward into October, continue seeking wisdom. And this is why it's also very important for you to pray. Pray before you read so that God can fill you up with his wisdom so that you can have a better understanding of what he has for you. What are you trying to tell me, guys? Spill the tea. I need to know when I read chapter 3. I know I'm a rapper. I know. Just I'm working on it. I'm working on the album. You've read chapter 1 yesterday or today. No worries, no hard feelings. Whenever you started, baby. I love this for you. Or chapter 2 today. Comment which verse stood out to you the most. Comment that because I love this. Let's build a community of people who are reading the word and not just reading it to memorize it, but reading it for a better understanding and reading it for application so that we can walk out here and be the best Christians that we can be, baby. Walking in his wisdom, his godly wisdom, and not this worldly one, because this worldly one is real tacky. Real tacky. But thankfully, we have a God who is loving. We have people around us who love God too. Let's celebrate that and let's get into it. I'll talk to you later. Bye.